Welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. So happy to have you with me this evening, a little bit past 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Yes, I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about today. I had a couple of pieces that I wanted to grab here and there, a piece here, a piece there, but a couple of things came together. People were asking me, "Hey, Larry, talk about the thing that happened in Colorado. Talk about the attack that happened in Ukraine. Talk." And it all came to me with one question. Is Trump losing control? Is he losing control of Israel and Ukraine? Why do I say that? All right. I'm not saying it's true. I have a question, right? This is a serious question because I'm starting to get concerned. I was one of the people up front who said I did not think Trump could end these wars right away, but I did say I thought he could end them, and I still think he can. I don't want to act like he can't, but it's not looking as good as I thought. And something else. Let me cover a couple pieces. Piece number one. You may have noticed, some of you may have known, there was a massive attack. That's the wrong answer. There was a surprise attack. I'll say that. The Ukrainians sent a massive amount of drones and they attacked Russia. Now, they attacked a bunch of strategic bombers. What does that mean? These are bombers that can carry the specialized big bombs. You know the ones I'm talking about, the nuclear triad, big bombs. Those blew them up. I think like 40 of them, something like that, whatever the number is. Attacked a bunch. It was a surprise attack. Drones that were brought to these areas, like in Siberia and Murmansk and up north, through truck drivers. And then it went out and boom, blew up a bunch of these aircraft. You might say, Larry, that's amazing. Isn't that good for Ukrainians? Isn't that great? Well, yes and no, right? Yes, in that they have an attack, good for them. They have a great piece when it comes to marketing. Wonderful, absolutely, that's wonderful. But the problem is, right? The problem is, it doesn't change anything on the ground. I want to be very clear. Is it a good attack for them? Yes. Is it positive? Yes. It changes nothing on the ground. In other words, they can bomb these bombers and blow these planes up all day long. It doesn't change the fact that right now on the ground, Ukraine's losing this war right now. Ukraine's losing this war. It's not even funny. But here's the worst part. What's also happening now? They're in Turkey right now talking peace. They're talking peace right now. While they're talking peace, that's when Zelenskyy does this thing. He didn't do it right before or after? During. Did Trump know this? Some people in the Senate seem to know. Look like some senators were out doing press cut. We got to hit Russia hard, trying to stop these talks because they don't want peace. The neocons, they don't want peace here. They want lots and lots of war. Lots of war. So they're having peace talks. Trump is supposed to try to get these talks getting done. Supposedly Witkoff wants to get this stuff done, and they made this attack now. Next piece. Here's the more important piece. Some of you may or may not get this part. Why does this matter so much? Because there's a reason why those bombers are outside. You would think, Larry, what are Russians stupid? Why do they keep these bombers out? Why don't they put them someplace else where they could be safe? They could be blown up. Here's the reason. The reason is we have a treaty. It's back to the old days of Reagan, right? Trust but verify. We do it too. We put our bombers outside. Why? So Russian satellites and American satellites can see the bombers. That's part of our treaty from 30, 40 years ago, whenever that treaty was it 40 years ago? Whenever that treaty was signed. I think it was 40 years ago. That's why they're out there. So what is the assumption when I agree to the Russians to put out my planes and the Russians agree to put their planes out? What is the assumption? The assumption is they will not be attacked. That's why they're out. It's an agreement that we make. I put my planes out so you can see them. You don't bomb my planes. You put your planes out so I can see them. I don't bomb your planes. Well, we just bombed their planes. Mecca, well, we didn't, Larry. Ukrainians did. We didn't know. Let's assume that we knew. We just broke our own treaty. Let's assume that we didn't know. That's our ally. Either way, it's bad. Either we knew and we broke our own treaty, or we didn't know and they're behind us and they're supposedly our ally. Now, some of you are saying things like, well, Russia's bad. I'm not saying Russia's bad, but we don't control Russia, right? Adam says, you forget Russia bombed Ukraine first in the peace talks. This was a retaliation attack. I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is this is about Trump, Adam, not whether they're right or wrong. Trump is trying to, or telling us he's trying to fix this thing. So, Adam, either he knew that was going to happen, in which case, what are you thinking? Or he didn't know, in which case, what the hell's Ukraine thinking? You shouldn't be breaking our SALT treaty with the Russians while you're supposedly having peace talks. Now, if you would say, well, they could bomb whatever else they want. This specific bombing, Adam, this specific one breaks our SALT treaty with the old Soviet Union that Russia was still holding to. That's the problem with this specific bombing. If they had bombed Moscow or bombed whatever, they're fighting a war. I get it, Adam. I'm not saying they shouldn't bomb. They're fighting a war. You bomb who you got to bomb. This is specific. This is why my question is, does Trump know this, or did someone go around behind his back? I don't know the answer to that question. My gut tells me, again, I'm very clear, I have no inside information on this. Sometimes I have inside information and I tell you. I don't. This is just my gut. My gut says he didn't know. That's my gut. We'll find out if I'm right later. I don't know if I'm right. My gut says he didn't know. That's an issue that I'm concerned about. That's why I'm saying, did he lose control of this or not? Do you see my point, Adam? I'm not saying that the Ukrainians have a right to bomb people. They should. I mean, they're fighting. I get it, right? You bomb people when you're fighting them in a war. Not mad at them for that. This specific thing is what I'm talking about. This bomb breaks our peace. Adam says, does Zelenskyy need to ask permission for every attack? Yes, if it is an attack that requires our assistance. Yes. Now, my assumption is that required our assistance. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe it doesn't. But my assumption is it requires our assistance. If it does, yes. For that attack, yes, he does. Yes, he does. If it required us, and I believe it did. Again, I could be wrong on that. Marine's on my side. She says he did not know. I think that's true. I think he didn't know. That's my gut. So yeah. So Adam, for normal attack, no. But if it breaks our treaty and it requires our help, yes to that question. But not everyone. No. So I hope you get my point. This is what I'm trying to get at. That part is what bothers me. Jazz says Trump's not trying to fix this Ukraine-Russia conflict. He's trying to secure business deals for himself and family, live happily ever after his term ends. You know, Jazz, if that includes a peace treaty, a real peace treaty that keeps these two countries from fighting for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever, I don't really care. I'm just being very forward with you. I want them to stop fighting. The military-industrial complex is going to get its cut no matter what happens. I mean, we know this, right? If he gets a cut too, stop the killing. Now, if he doesn't stop the killing and gets all that stuff, that's a failure. That's an embarrassment. Let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope it's not the case. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah. Dave says Trump doesn't know it. If he did, he would have told Putin. That's actually funny. But you know what? Think about that. If that were true, Dave, imagine if that were true. I have no idea if that's true, but let's say for a second that Zelenskyy told him, hey, we're going to go bomb this thing, whatever. And then Trump says, pull your planes in. Pull your planes in. Zelensky's about to break our treaty. Pull your planes in. If he had done that, Putin would start trusting him. If he had done that, if that were true, I don't know if it's true at all. I have no idea. Again, I have no inside information on this one, guys. This is just me utterly speculating. If he did know, and if he told Putin, and Putin pulled his planes in, and then the attack comes, he'd trust him. He would trust him. That would have actually helped to make a peace treaty. Because right now, Putin has no reason to make any real peace. No reason. He's winning on the front lines right now, even though Zelenskyy does this often, right? He did his Kursk offensive which in the long run did nothing except kill a bunch of people, right? And that's all it did. But it did make people feel good and escalate. Mike, oh, you're reading it. Yes. He says, Ukraine is trying to escalate to get us in Europe further engaged. True. Yes, I think that's right. Yes, absolutely. Dave says, Ukraine didn't agree to that treaty and those bombers are being used to attack civilians. I don't think those bombers were. I don't think so. I don't think those were, Dave. I think it's just, I'm not 100% sure. But if I remember the story, I have to look at that. I don't think those bombers were. And if they were being used, if that's true, then Trump should have told them to stop doing that because that's part of our treaty. So if that's true, Trump should have said, you can't use those bombers. That's our treaty. You got to leave them out there so we can see them all the time. You can't use those bombers. They can't be up in there. I can't see them. No, got to be right there. That was our deal. If that's true. So Mike goes on to say it was a non-proliferation treaty of 1970. Was it that long ago? No. Wasn't the treaty that we're talking about now? That was SALT. Wasn't that? That was 80s. That was Reagan, wasn't it? No, I'm not sure, Mike. I forgot. I'm pretty sure it was SALT and it was the 80s with Reagan. I'm not 100% sure on that. Let me see. SALT treaty. Oh, no, that was the 70s. Oh, that was SALT 1. He was SALT 2. That's right. Yes. Okay. That's right. Yes. SALT 1 was Nixon. And that did limit number of nuclear missiles in arsenals. What about SALT 2? There was a SALT 2, wasn't there? Here, there we go. SALT 2. When was that one? Oh, that was 79. All right. I thought it was 80. All right. Yeah, I thought it was 80. All right. Maybe it didn't work. All right. My mistake. I knew it was an older treaty. I didn't realize 19. I thought it was. Maybe it was. Reagan was trying to get SALT 2 done. That's maybe what my head was. So I think you're actually right there. So all right, I'm looking over at Instagram. I got Rodrigue something 67. What I believe is that the people don't like liberty. They like people deciding for them. There's absolutely no way this ends in a truce. Ending in a truce. So does that mean one country is annihilated? Is that what you're saying? I don't think I see one country being annihilated. I don't see it. I could be wrong. I don't see it. I don't see it. So, why I think Zelenskyy did it, which again, I'm not saying Zelenskyy shouldn't have done it for his own. I think Zelenskyy did what he thought was right. I do believe that, right? I do believe that he thought it was right. But I think it hurts us. Kim says Zelenskyy doesn't want peace. He wants war. If he truly wanted peace, he'd be willing to sign. Okay. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan, but I have to try to see things from where he is, right? Where he is. He is in a very tough spot, Kim. Legally, right now, he can't talk peace because of his own constitution that says he cannot accept those areas that are controlled by Russia now to not be controlled by Russia. So he has to either go against his own constitution, which puts him in a spot to be removed, or he has to get his constitution to change, in which case he's admitting defeat. So he's in a very tough spot. Not just that, if he loses control, he might lose the ability to breathe, if that makes any sense. That could happen next for him. So he's going to have to literally pack up and bail. So yeah, that is an issue he has to worry about. Again, not saying he's right. I'm just saying he's in a very tough spot for him to be in, right? He's got to find a way of keeping this going or fixing this somehow. And I don't know how he does it. At the moment, Russia is just moving further and further. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, it's different because the Ukrainians have a bunch of drones. True. But drones don't win wars. Drones help win wars. Drones can assist. Drones can make things much more powerful, but drones can't win wars. No matter what, at one point, whether that's early on, later on, at one point, you have to have infantry go in and control the ground at one point. And at the moment, Ukraine's not doing that well at all. Ukraine is losing ground still every day. losing ground every day. The Russians are advancing on all fronts every day. That's his biggest issue. And he's having trouble bringing more people in. So my gut says he did it on purpose. My gut says he didn't know. I'm sorry, that Trump didn't know. That's my gut. And Zelenskyy knew what he was doing. And his goal was to motivate people to give him more money, more time, more resources. And it'll probably work. So Joel over on Instagram, on Rumble says, guess what Chuck Schumer's pushing for? More funding. That fixes everything. True. Yes. We'll just give him more money and then he'll win. Well, maybe not. Doesn't mean he's going to win. I can't see him winning. I can't see him. I can't see Ukraine winning this thing. I can see a draw. I can see it, a tie. I can see it. I don't know. So that's where my head is on this piece. And my next worry is, I keep going here. I feel like Witkoff is slowed down badly. I feel like the neocons have gotten to him. I could be wrong on that too. On this piece, I have no inside info, which is why I didn't know if I want to talk about it or not, because I'm doing a lot of speculation now. And usually I have some info or some insight that I can tell you, here's how I know, here's how I know. I am really doing a lot of speculation now because it's bothering me. It's bothering me because last year, I was worried. I have many Jewish friends here in New York, and I'm out with one of them. And she says, Larry, I'm very afraid. And I said, what? She's Jewish. And she has friends and family in Israel. And she says, I'm afraid, for my family and friends in Israel. And I said, I got to tell you, I'm afraid for Israel, period. She said, why? I said, I feel like if this keeps going the way it is, this was last year I said this, the world is going to turn against Israel. And they don't need that. And Israel right now has a lot of hubris. They feel like they're untouchable. They feel like they can do anything they want because, to be forward, in the Middle East, they're the most powerful country in the Middle East right now. I mean, you'll hear people on the left go, Iran's more powerful. It's not. It's not more powerful than Israel. Israel has the biggest economy. It has amazing tech. And it's the most powerful in that Middle East area, right? It just is. And so I feel like they're like, we're unstoppable. We can do everything. And hubris is not a good thing to have. I've had it before. It's not good. It feels good when you have it, but when you come down, it hurts. And that was my worry. And I told her that. And she's like, that sounds bad. I worry about that too. I'm worried about that now. I'm worried that Netanyahu thinks he's unstoppable. He can do whatever he wants. And whenever you think you can do whatever you want, you can't do whatever you want. That's not how that works, right? Everyone has a limit. I don't care how cool you are. Everyone's got a limit. And my worry is, does Trump know that? Do his people know that? Do they care? Right? I don't know. I feel like there was a short time when people believed that he was going to end this war in Gaza. He doesn't look that's true anymore. And he said it openly, right? My worry, of course, is Trump is very transparent. Again, whether you like him or not, very transparent. When he says, I'm frustrated with Putin, he's going crazy, they're not talking well, right? When Trump's talking well with someone, he praises them. He hasn't been praising Netanyahu. He's not praising them. That means he's not listening. This is why I'm worried that he's lost control of both of those. Now get my next piece why I feel this way. Because boy, all of a sudden, he's fighting hard on like Harvard. Like, who gives a crap about Harvard? I don't care, right? I don't care. He is fighting hard. He's ready to just put them under. Hanging out with Elon Musk on the way out, patting him on the back. And Elon's kind of not been so nice on him. He's patting Elon on the back. Oh, great guy. Doge, yay. And he's all jumping up on RFK Jr. All his stuff he's doing. Yeah, it's great. So these are things that, if you remember, I mentioned this months ago. I said, Trump's not going to focus on domestic. He has so many challenges that are out there in foreign policy. He's going to let the people domestically do their job, and he's going to go off and he's going to try to fix this foreign policy stuff. And I think you saw early on, that's what he was doing. He was following exactly that, which is obvious. I knew he would do that. He was doing that. But he's not getting wins. He doesn't have all of the deals yet that he was supposed to have. Remember 90 days, 90 deals? That hasn't happened yet either. So my worry is he's trying to get some positive wins, and they're actually coming up domestically. They're not coming in foreign policy right now. And my worry is and why do I care? You might go, Larry, why do you care if Trump loses control of this? Who cares? Okay, here's why. My worry about Israel is that it will have hubris and it will think it can do anything. And it will do something like, I don't know, occupy half of Syria or something like that, right? Whatever. It will just do because it can do whatever it wants. And it will go one step too far. And the Turks will go, oh, no, you didn't. And if the Turks say that, Israel's in trouble. That's my worry. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, right? But that's my concern that will happen. Second piece is, if Trump gets desperate, as you've heard me say 1,000 times, and I'll keep saying, desperate people do desperate things. I do not want a desperate president doing something desperate, right? He just signed that thing with that company where now they're going to be taking all our biological data. Desperate people do desperate things. I don't want that. That is my concern. That's why I'm talking about this. That's why I feel this way. It doesn't feel good. If I was going back a couple of months, I was feeling much better about this. I felt like Witkoff was making much more progress. I felt like we had a shot. They were sitting down talking. I thought we're going to have something going. But I feel like neocons have gotten a hold of him. And they're like, okay, no more. This talk of peace was fun, Witkoff. It's fun. But us neocons, we're still the establishment. You don't get to do what you want around here, right? We're the establishment. You got to follow us. And I feel like that could be happening. So let me grab a couple more. Mike Voss is in the house. He says, my thought on the topic is no, both Ukraine and Russia need Trump to moderate and bring international acceptance to find a final deal. Plus, the U.S. is the real guarantor of any terms. Agreed on the second part. The first part, why does Russia need Trump if Russia is, at the moment at least, I mean, things could change, obviously, but at the moment at least, winning on all fronts? And now with the Zelenskyy stunt, and look, Mike, you lived in Russia. So you know Russian better than I do. Can Russians accept this smack that Zelenskyy just did without some horrible retaliation? I feel like the answer is no. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like the answer is no. And there is going to be something terrible in response to this. That's just going to make peace even harder, even worse, even more challenging. That is my concern. And Putin doesn't need Trump for a final deal. He'll just keep fighting until the Ukrainians will just bend and go, I surrender. Or until the Europeans actually put people in. Until the French get pissed off enough, Macron's mad, trying to show how cool he is after his wife beat him. He's going to be like, I'm a tough guy. I'm going to go fight Ukraine, whatever. If that happens, maybe something like that. Then maybe, right? Then maybe. So, and I think Zelensky's plan, in my view, I see only one way for Zelenskyy to get out of this in a good way, only one. And that is he literally brings in the EU and America on the ground in his country. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, Mike. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if I'm him, that's absolutely my goal. That is absolutely my goal. If I'm him, I'm like, how do I get American, British, French, German troops on my ground directly fighting Russians? If that happens, I got a shot at a real truce. I got a shot at getting some of my land back. I got a shot at everything if I can get them on my land. That's what I'd be doing if I was him. I don't need the U.S. for that to guarantee anything. What I need is those guys on my land. Trump's already said he's not guaranteeing anything. Trump's already said he's going to give everything away to Putin. He just wants to stop. Zelensky's like, I don't like that. I might not get out alive. So that's my view on that one. So yes. Mike goes on to say, Israel versus Hamas has diminished in importance now that the last living U.S. citizens came home. True. That's my other worry. True. Bad for Hamas as the supporters lost U.S. citizens, but Israel needs U.S. backing, won't stray far. Again, I'm half and half with you. I think your first part's on the money, right? Trump's like almost like whatevs. The problem, Mike, is if you look at what's happening, as I said earlier, years back when this first happened, I said Israel lost the PR war up front, and they still have lost the PR war. The pictures and photos coming out of Gaza are affecting people, Mike. People are like, what is going on here? We can't be part of this. It is happening. It is slow. Don't get me wrong. It's not like tomorrow. But the longer this goes on, the more people in America go, no, we don't want to be part of this. The more they say no. And at one point, Trump will find a spot where he's got to just go, look, I'm back in this room no matter what, or I got to back off. One of those two. So that's the issue. Now, if I'm Netanyahu, what am I going to do? Hardcore push everything because time is not on my side. Time's not on my side. If I'm Netanyahu, time is not on my side. I got to wipe Gaza clean ASAP. I got to push everything in, all in. If I'm Netanyahu, that's what I want. That's what I got to do. Because eventually Americans go, I'm done. I don't do this anymore. Because there's no doubt, you can see it in the polling, see it around the world. You can see what's happening. Israel is losing the PR war again. It's happening again. Those pictures are terrible. They're horrible. I've seen some of them. I can't watch anymore. If you have kids, you can't watch it. You just can't. If you have kids, you just can't. So anyway, I think Netanyahu is not going to care what U.S. says. They're going to push as hard as they can. And Netanyahu, as I said this last year again, does not want that Russia-Ukraine war to end at all. Netanyahu's like, keep them boys fighting. As they're fighting, all those drones, all those troops stay in Ukraine. They don't come into the Middle East at all. And Russia cannot make any attempt to recapture or to resupport Syria in any way. And Syria, as you know, is broken. Iran, as you know, is broken. As the Russians are fighting in Ukraine, they stay broken. So Israel's like, good, don't stop fighting. Go, Zelenskyy. Keep going. That's what he's saying, for sure. So that liberal lady says, Larry, that was an awesome X-Twitter space you were a guest of today. Many people were hearing you for the first time. Larry was definitely dropping the truth bombs. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes. I spoke for 2 hours on that damn thing. I did. It's true. Yes. That's kind of what I do. So, all right. Drain says, the super drone offense that Ukraine pulled off will either bring negotiations, escalation, or more of the same. I say escalation, Rick. I can't imagine Trump saying, not Trump, sorry. Putin going, oh man, they hit me. You know what? I want peace now. I can't see it. I think the opposite. I think he somehow doubles down. I think something horrible hits that. I don't know what that is. He hits him horribly somehow. That's what I think escalation. That's my guess. Kim says, I'm believing these wars are here to stay. I believe they will only get bigger, bloodier, and hotter. I don't want you to be right, Kim. I don't want to believe you. I don't want to believe you. Because if you're right, then we will be involved. That's how that works. America can't stay out of this. It's impossible. We can't. We cannot. That's not who we are. We will get involved. I hate that to be being true. I don't want it. We've had enough. Like enough. Damn it, just enough. So anyway, Matt says, if the CIA went behind his back and gave Ukraine the intel, yeah, it's really a bad situation. Equally bad if Trump was aware of this and let it happen. Jeffrey Sachs talked about it today. Oh, is that right? I should have watched Jeffrey Sachs. Yeah. That's my worry. You see both parts, right? Either he didn't know and they went behind his back, right? Which I think that's what happened, because if you remember, there was a couple, was it Blumenthal and was it Lindsey Graham who were like hanging out talking like, yeah, we got to do this, all happy, then boom, it hits. See, like they knew, or maybe not, but I'm being conspiratorial, but they knew. So maybe I am, but guilty as charged, I guess. But yeah, I feel like they knew. And I feel like Trump didn't know. That is what I feel like. I feel like Trump didn't know. Anyway, just what I think. So, all righty. Let me keep going down here if I can. All righty. Let's see. Dave says, yes, he is. Ukraine is keeping Trump in the dark, and rightfully so. I think that may be true. Yes. Adam says, you need to bring up the foreign student ban as well. All embassies worldwide were told to not accept new visas. Why are Australians being punished? I thought we were allies, and let Ukraine do its thing. 2 parts. I don't care what Ukraine does except when it affects our treaties. Second part. There's my other issue. You brought it up. This punishment of Harvard. Look, not that I care about Harvard. I don't. at all. I don't care about Harvard. Whatever happens, happens. I mean, they're a bunch of wealthy people doing wealthy things. I don't like it. Whatever, right? That's not it. My point. That's not my concern. But it is my point. Why do we care so much about this? It feels like distraction to me. It feels like getting people talking about that. It feels like, right? Why are we punishing Australians? What the hell do to us, right? Okay, you guys got funny accents, but that isn't the reason why I want to punish you. Right? Of course not. So I love you, Adam. Anyway, my point being, I agree with you. I don't think the world should be punished for this. I don't like the idea. And I feel like it's distraction. It's not a priority, but I feel like it's becoming one. So, yeah. Any case. All right, let me grab a couple more of these if I can. So, all righty. Mike says 2 attacks, Russia first Saturday, then Ukraine, which was the more strategically important and short term. Yeah, I feel like this is not helping the ground. And that's my point. Russia is still moving forward on the ground. That's the issue. Russia is still moving forward on the ground. So Mitsunagi says Ukraine fundraisers hit big this weekend. True. You're not wrong. Yes. Yes. Matt goes on to say, Dave, at David's, Sack says he doesn't see any scenario Ukraine pulls this off without U.S. and British intelligence. That's my point. I think they needed U.S. intelligence. That was my point and my question to Adam, right? If they needed our help and it breaks our treaty, then yes, they require our permission. If it's that. But day to day, no, of course not. Yeah. Yep. Jazz, everybody's seeing what Ukraine doing, but not what Russia's doing. Hypocrisy. That's not true. Most of the media is anti-Russia. Most of the media is. There's no doubt. Most of the media is anti-Russia. And on Ukraine's side, I think it's obvious. Most of it is. There's exceptions. You find a lot of some specific YouTube channels that are all like, anti-Ukraine, whatever. You find some of those. But the vast majority of YouTube channels are pro-Russia. The vast majority, are pro-Ukraine. The vast majority of the media is pro-Ukraine. You find some, but most are going to be pro-Ukraine. And in general, it's not being covered at all. Right? If you just look at mainstream media, it's rare they say anything. Like, this is what happens. And the reason why this is being covered, to be forward, Jazz, is not because Ukraine did it. Well, yes, but it's because of how impressive this was. Every military person is going to look at this and go, "This is good." They're calling it the Pearl Harbor, or there's another one. Some of you may remember the Doolittle raid. For those of you know what that was in World War II. This is early on in the war, 1942. So at that point during the war, America doesn't have long-range bombers that can go from like Hawaii to bomb Japan, right? They didn't have that. And they wanted to send a message to Japan. So they took a bunch of, I think about B-25s, B-25, maybe B-26. I think it'll be B-25s, a bunch of B-25 bombers, and literally put them on aircraft carriers. Now, that's not supposed to, that's what they go from aircraft carriers, but they did. They put on aircraft carriers, sent them close out with a big fleet, close enough to Japan, with just enough fuel to get to Japan and over. They couldn't get back. I'm not joking. So they sent them over, bombed Japan, and then landed in China. True story. It's called, you check it out. It's called the Doolittle raids. I forgot, like 15, 16, whatever. It was like 15 of them, whatever. The bombers went over off the aircraft carrier, dropped bombs on Japan, and then landed in China because they couldn't get back. They had enough fuel. So that's called Doolittle raids. Why would you do that? Why would you sacrifice those bombers? Because you can't get those bombers back. They're done. You can't get the bombers back, right? You just sacrifice whatever, a dozen bombers, right? And you can't get the crews back either until after the war, right? Oh, years later, you get the crews back. So they're all gone. Why would you do that? To send a message saying, we can still hit you at home. We can bomb you. This is kind of what Ukraine did. Ukraine said, oh, we're talking peace. We can still bomb you at home. We can still do it. That's what that was. And that's why it was so impressive. Some people are calling it Pearl Harbor. So they're talking about it, Jazz, not because they're mad at Ukraine. That's not the issue. They're talking about it because it's impressive. The stuff Russia's doing is standard combat. I mean, again, impressive if you're the soldier, fighting and shooting and stuff, of course. But it's standard combat. They're attacking trenches, moving forward, drone attacks, the same thing. This was a very special thing. So, yeah. Dave goes, Larry, while they're talking peace, Russia's still attacking Ukrainian civilians. Yeah, they're still fighting. Again, I want to be very clear on this. I am not saying that Ukraine should not be bombing Russia. I'm not saying that. This is specific because of what they bombed and when. That's what I'm saying. And my question, am I even saying they're wrong to do it? I'm saying what happened with Trump. Remember, the premise of this entire conversation is not whether or not Ukraine should have bombed Russia. Ukraine can bomb Russia as it sees fit. the premise of this entire show is, did Trump know? Did Trump know? That's the premise of this entire piece. That is my concern. That is my piece that I'm concerned about, right? That is my piece. So anyway, I think it was done on purpose so they could keep moving forward, the wall forward. That is what I think. So in any case, all righty, so I can go down here and grab a couple more of these. Ryan says, I doubt that Trump knew. I agree. I think he didn't know. Mike Vasco's, both sides trying to get an advantage in negotiations. I'm not sure that's true, Mike. I'm not sure either one actually wants a peace right now. My gut, my worry, here's my worry. Again, in this one, I have no inside information. Again, I'm doing a lot of speculating today, so I could be way wrong, a lot of speculating. But my gut tells me neither one of them actually wants peace. They're showing up just to show up to act like they're peaceful. So they can say, oh, you rejected, he rejected, I wanted peace, he didn't want peace. I don't think either side actually wants peace right now. I don't. That's just my gut. Ukraine is trying to imply they can do it again, but in reality, they can't. In reality, they can't. Not this thing. They can do something else, but not this, right? Because remember, they had to have civilians drive there. Russia will make a police state to stop that. And those planes that now are supposed to be out won't be out anymore. They'll all be in. They'll bring all the planes in. No planes will be outside of hangars anymore. So our treaty's broken basically now. So yes. He goes on to say, plus this draws U.S. back in more actively. Yes. Yep. It may backfire on Ukraine if U.S. doesn't step in. I agree with, except one exception, Mike. I have a feeling the Europeans might double, triple down. Why would I say that? Because short term, revving up your economy via war is great short term. Get a big GDP boost. You get a little bit of a, you just go into debt. So in the long run, it hurts you. But short run, it does work well. Short run, you get a big increase in employment. You get a GDP boost. One of the biggest reasons why Russia's GDP is exploding is because so much spending on the military industrial complex. It's all government spending, right? So I think Germany could use that. So could France. So could Britain, right? They could use that push in their economy. So I could see them short-term gaining it and throwing a bunch in. So even if America backs off, I could see European nations throwing it in anyway. And then, of course, asking for volunteers or consultants, contractors, which would basically be European soldiers. That is my other issue. So yes. Mike says, Trump definitely wants this peace treaty. He wants to own his legacy. I agree. I'm not sure the other guys do. Right? That's my worry. I was a big fan of Witkoff. I still am. I think Witkoff is still a talented negotiator. I haven't heard much of him recently. I don't know. So, yeah. Adam says, I get it. However, they don't need to ask for the equipment and info we gave them. We gave it to them, unless you guys have different deals than what we do in Australia. No. But the problem is the intelligence required is immediate, right? It's immediate. It isn't like we said, here's intelligence, have a nice day. It is active and immediate. So like they're getting it from the CIA or whatever unit. I don't know what division gives it to them. DOD, whatever unit gives them. So yeah, it is immediate. That's the difference. It is. So yes. All righty. Mike says, Trump family is already very comfortable and don't need more deals for financial security. So no, that's not a major motivation. I don't think it is either. But my point is, Mike, I don't care what Trump gets from this. If he gets what is Nobel Peace Prize or whatever, his legacy, I don't care. Just end it. I don't care. Good. I'm happy. Give him a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm okay with it. Fix this and I don't care. Ryan says, military industrial complex is always going to get their cut. They've been a nuisance in at least the Truman administration. The issue here, though, is I was hoping that this whole mineral deal was a way they can get their cut and keep peace. Right? That was my entire goal. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But that's what I wanted to do. So they're going to make cash. I'm with you, Ryan. They're not going to walk away from it. Right? But yeah. So Rick says salt was Nixon, Reagan was start. Thank you. Start, not salt. Thank you, Rick. That's where my head was. I forgot which one. It was start, not salt. There we go. Michael, salt was the 70s. There we go. Yes, start. My memory isn't perfect, but yeah, I knew it was something. That's right. Thank you for that, Rick. Reagan was start, Nixon was salt. There we go. I think this deal was Reagan's start. Now I'm looking for start. Okay, hold on. I think the START treaty, if I remember that right, I think if I remember that right, that was the planes, right? So I can find the thought reduction, limited offense. Well, there was another one they signed. Oh, so it was a new START one that Obama signed. Okay, so there's a couple START treaties. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that was the START one. Weapons. Yeah. All right. The one I was thinking was the START treaty. Yeah. And I think that was the one that started under Reagan, but then was finished under Bush. And that's what I was thinking about. So anyway, guy, my chat is brilliant. You guys are very smart. I love it. Thank you for that, guys. I appreciate that. Yes. So anyway, let me keep going. I'm going to grab some of these. I forgot START. Now that the second you said it, Rick, I'm like, that's what it is. After you said it. But yeah, I did not get it until then. So, all righty. Adam says, are we also getting that Russia invaded Ukraine here and not the other way around? So what is that? Dude, I don't know what you're talking about, Adam. You're walking, you're straw manning me in some way that's that left, right. That's that same Putin puppet shit I get all the time. Whenever I question anything and I don't go, and by the way, Russia's evil. If I don't virtue signal how awesome Ukraine is, I get a bunch of people who love Ukraine calling me a Putin puppet or attacking me in some place, or blah, 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 or blah, 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 blah. I don't care. It's not an issue, Adam. That's not my issue. My issue is American. Are they sucking us into a war on purpose? And does our president know that it's happening? That's all I'm saying. That stuff you're saying, it's not part of this conversation. Not part of this conversation. It's, does our president know or not? Dude, thank you for the $5, my friend. Bongino and Patel are now parroting the narrative that EpiPen unalived himself after hinting otherwise. Seems deep states also are in the war, not Trump. This, Duke, is always my worry. And you remember I brought it up literally last year when Trump won the election in November. I told everybody who was like, that's it, it's all going to change. I said, look, the swamp didn't go away just because he won. And I'm going to give Trump credit here. Has he made more impact against the swamp than anybody in decades? 100%. Absolutely. Has he put more non-swamp people in than anybody in decades? I can't remember anybody else doing it. I mean, maybe someone else did, but I can't remember if someone else did. 100% yes. But it's not gone. Didn't go away. It's still powerful. Neocons are still powerful, right? They've been hurt and pushed back. The MAGA crew is a whole lot stronger. America Firsters are a whole lot stronger. That's true. But neocons didn't go away. They're still there. They didn't go away. And they're still institutional, which does give them some strength, allows them to slow people down. And what winds up happening is now people have to make decisions. Guys like Patel, Bongino, whoever, depends on how aggressive they are. Now, the advantage Trump has, he's been here before, and he's super popular, and he has a lot of power in just his ability to move America, right? In theory, Trump should not be doing well in the polls, but he's still doing well in the polls. The Democrats are doing terrible in the polls. So Trump's still in a good spot. He's got a lot of still power, a lot of influence still. Bongino has influence and power, nowhere near Trump's. Patel, influence and power, nowhere near Trump's. So they have to make decisions. Do they open up this? Do they not? Now, I think we all know that those files, EpiPen's files, there's some bad stuff in there. I think we know that, or it would have been out already. So Patel and Bongino have to, well, to be forward, Bongino's going to do what Patel tells him to do. He's loyal. He's a loyal soldier. He'll do that. Patel's got to decide, is this the hill I want to die on? And I might mean that literally. Just saying, I might. Is this the one? Right? Is this the one? Now, he's got two things to think about. One, is the outcome, if he were to be open about everything, give it all out, is the outcome an actual valuable outcome that will create massive change? Will it or not? Or will it just punish people? right? Will it actually create change? Will it just punish people? Not just that. Are the people who will be punished so powerful that they'll be so desperate to do desperate things? As you hear me say all the time, desperate people do desperate things. Do those people think, well, now I'm desperate, I might have to do something that might directly affect the director of the FBI, and maybe he's going to assume room temperature? I'm on YouTube, so I got to use baby talk. So is that a case? And I'm not saying you're wrong, Duke. I'm just saying they got to start making decisions on what's the most, what matters most, all those things. That's the issue. Duke goes on to say, thank you for the $5 again, Duke. If you can't control the president, control people around him. That's how it works. 100% true. That's accurate. Yes, it's accurate. And Trump can't keep replacing people because at one point he starts looking bad. Can't keep replacing them. It's a valid point. This is not easy, right? I mean, look, I'm not saying Trump's finished. I'm not. I want people to understand. I'm not saying he's finished. I'm saying I warned you guys. It's going to be really hard. The swamp has not gone away, and he's still fighting the swamp. And some people don't want peace, and he wants peace. He's got to figure out which hills do I want to fight on. He's only one person. Patel's one person. What hill are you going to fight on? What hill are you going to die on? What hill are you going to let go? What are you going to give up? Not an easy task. Not an easy answer either. Let me clear that, you guys. If you do want your chat to go right to the front, you can super chat just like Duke did. Please super chat me if you like. I appreciate super chats. Or you can rant me on Rumble. Either one. You can rant me on Rumble, or you can super chat me on YouTube. Either one of those if you want to. If you want to become a member, please do so. Click that join button on YouTube. It's $49 per month. More members means I spend less time working and more time doing this. That's the issue. If you want more of this, membership is a great way of making that happen. If you have not reposted this, if you haven't shared this someplace, you haven't reposted this someplace, that means you like war. Why are you a warmonger? Why do you hate our troops? Don't do that. Don't hate troops. They did nothing to you. So share this, repost this, show them that, because they know. Once you do it, the troops go, you love me because you shared or reposted this show. The troops automatically, by magic, know that you love them. So just do that. But no matter what, click the button known as Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. The more we do this, the more it gets shared out, the more people I can get past these damn bans, shadow type that happen constantly around here. So anyway, hope that was helpful. So let's keep moving down here if we can. All righty. I want to grab some more of these. There are so many things going back and forth. All righty. Let me grab a couple of these. Billy John says, Netanyahu is Trump's handler. I know that's a thing that people say. I know. I don't think that's true at all. I think there are a couple things. I think Trump actually does like Israel. I think he does. I think he actually supports it. I think personally he does. I mean, literally, he has a daughter who's converted to Judaism. His son-in-law is Jewish, and they're practicing Jews, right? They're not like just Jewish in name. They keep kosher household. They're practicing. So I think he has an actual affinity for Jewish people and for Israel. I do think that's true. Not just that. I don't think he actually has a handler. He's worried about the impact on people around him. And that he's not afraid that, Netanyahu is going to somehow get rid of Trump. He's not worried about that. That's not a thing he's worried about. He's worried about how AIPAC may get rid of some of his people in Congress. Yes. What about that? Because if AIPAC gets rid of some of his people in Congress, he can't get anything passed. That he's worried about, no doubt. I think that's true. But I think that's a story that people say, but I don't actually believe it. Billy says, why are people hating on Ukraine? Who's hating on Ukraine? You acting like Adam now. No one's hating on Ukraine. I don't know where that comes from. Who's hating on Ukraine? You acting like Adam now, dude. I didn't say that. That's straw man stuff. I never said that. Never said it once. I'm saying I'm worried that Trump didn't know what happened. That's not hating on Ukraine. Ukraine should do what it thinks is best. Ukrainian president should do what he thinks is best for the Ukrainian people. That's what he should do. Whatever that is. Good luck on him. Good luck him. Doesn't mean we have to be involved. Doesn't mean we have to be sucked in this war. But he should do what he thinks is that. That's it. Michael's going to say Saudi is the second most powerful in the Middle East, and they can't beat Israel one-on-one with just one other nation. That's what I'm considering. Yeah, the big boys. I think you're right. Saudi Arabia has a lot of cash. The one advantage Saudi Arabia will have is it's physically larger. So that's an advantage. A lot more people and a whole lot more cash. So they have some advantages. I agree. The problem with that kind of piece is I don't think either nation could actually beat either nation. I don't think Israel could beat Saudi Arabia because they don't have enough physical bodies and space to do a conquest. At the same time, I don't think they can be beaten by Saudi. It would literally just be a stalemate that Israel would win many battles, but I don't think they can actually conquer them. I don't think it'd be possible. So, yeah, that's all. That's my view. We'll see. All righty. Let me keep going down here if I can. All right. IC says they were already planning more settlements in the West Bank. That's true, but they've been there for a long time. Yeah. There is no doubt there's a group of people within Israel who want to create Großen Israel, which is greater Israel. 100% true. There's a lot of people. Some people don't want that at all, but some yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Liberty says, so for all the MAGA libertarians, she does in quotes, who voted for Trump because he was going to end the war. Yeah, I was hoping he would. I was hoping he would. I mean, clearly he's not right now. And he still might. I don't want to say it's over. I don't want to believe it's over. I want Kim to be wrong. I don't want Kim to be right. I want her to be wrong. I hope she's wrong. I want him to end these wars. There's no way Harris would have ended them at all. That's for sure. I'm hoping he'll end them. I'm hoping. That's all. Billy John's with you. Billy John says, lately they've been bamboozled. I hope not, Billy John. I hope you're wrong. I hope Kim's wrong. I hope you're wrong. But if he doesn't end it by this year, I think you're both right. That's what I would say. If he doesn't end it by this year, yeah. Mike says, I think Trump was our last chance to get a peace in the Middle East. I think that I agree with you. I still think it can be done. I'm not, I feel so bad. I feel like I'm throwing it. I'm not being pessimistic. I think it's still possible. All I'm saying is not looking good right now. It's not looking good right now. But I still have hope. Joel says both sides losing the war. I disagree, Joel. Right now, Russia's winning this war. Now, are they losing, period, because fighting this war is hurting them? Yes. So they are losing, period, because this war is not good for Russia. True. But they are winning the war, right? They are. There was a time when they weren't. Now they are. And if you see what's happening on the ground, if any of you paying attention, literally every single day, the Russians are gaining ground. And some people, I was talking to Dylan Burns. He's like, well, how do you define, winning the war or whatever? Production, blah, 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 blah. And I will tell you exactly how I define winning the war. Who's taking more ground on a consistent basis? It is not the Ukrainians. The Russians, and this has been for at least 6 months, if not a year, maybe more, since the Kursk offensive, whatever, was that a year ago? Whatever that was. Since then, the Russians have been taking ground steadily, just slowly taking grounds again and again and again. They've been crossing rivers now. And I go, why does that matter? Because to cross a river is deadly. Why? It's out in the open and they have drones. If the Russians are crossing rivers, that means things are bad, right? Things are bad. So, yeah. So they're in trouble right now. They are in trouble right now. Look, can it change? It can, So anyway, Billy says, everyone gives Russia too much credit. They lost the war to Japan and Germany. 100 years ago, when it was Tsarist Russia. Modern day Russia hasn't lost a war. Unless you count Afghanistan, which is we lost Vietnam too. So I guess we lost Vietnam. They lost Afghanistan. But besides that, we haven't won a war since 1945. I don't know where that goes. Billy, I don't know where you're going with that one. That doesn't make any sense to me. Russia is winning this war. I mean, if there are a lot of people who love Ukraine who only watch pro-Ukrainian stuff, and there is so much cope in that world, just so much cope. They say, well, it doesn't matter because money or drone strikes or blah, 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 blah. Has Ukraine done some good things? Yes. And this attack was amazing. There's no doubt it was amazing. It was that they said it took them 18 months to put together. I mean, amazing. Well done. As far as attacks go, it was a Doolittle raid, or it was a a Pearl Harbor, whatever. Agreed. It doesn't change the fact that the Ukrainians are losing ground and have been losing ground consistently every day for months. That's still true, right? And I know you don't like it because you want Ukraine to win. I get it. I'm not saying you're wrong in that wanting Ukraine to win. I'm just saying they're not. And you shouldn't be on cope. You should be reality. Right now, they're not winning. Jazz says, I agree. Israel's a poor job at PR. Yes. They've lost the PR war. Yes. They're dealing with an enemy that does not care about their own people alive. Well, not just that. I think you have an enemy that is utterly desperate, does desperate things. And because right now Americans aren't in that desperate war, neither are the West in general. When we see those things, we can't imagine them. We can't imagine them being that desperate. Like we just can't imagine. So we assume that it's all true and great. So yeah, that's true. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Dave's on my side. He says, John True. Oh no, sorry. Billy John True. Russia has been winning for over 3 years. Russia needs Chinese and North Koreans to win the war in Ukraine. I don't think that's true, Dave. Russia does not need North Koreans. That's not true. That's a story they tell you. That's absolutely not true. The North Koreans wanted to be there. Without question, they wanted to be there. They wanted to blood their troops, and they did a good job of it. They sent about 10,000 or so troops in there to be bloodied. So that because they had no one alive in North Korea in their military has actual combat experience. Now they do. That's going to be that is literally going to be their non-commissioned officer corps for the next 20 years. I'm not making that up. They wanted to be there. Others want to be there too. Why do you think Australians sent the mercenaries there? Australians sent tons of mercenaries there. Adam will know this. They sent tons of mercenaries there. They wanted to get people to go there. People went to Afghanistan, Iraq. They sent them over there too, to Ukraine, to fight voluntarily, get them bloodied. Of course. Yes. That's the point. So yeah, the Russians do not need North Koreans to win the war. That's not true. The Chinese need the Chinese when it comes to buying things from them. So yeah, but they don't need Chinese troops. It's not a thing. They're winning without it. And again, this idea of losing, yeah, the Russians lost the war to the Germans in 1917. So 108 years ago. And lost the war to Japan in what, 1905? Is that right? So Japanese War, 1905, I think. Battle of Tsushima, right? Battle of Tsushima was the last battle, if I'm not mistaken. The sea battle that trashed them. 1905. So we're talking 120 years ago and 150 years ago. So no, Billy John, doesn't count. Doesn't count, brother. I appreciate it, but doesn't count. John says, Ukraine has broken the ceasefires every time and has escalated each time and led Russia to double down each time. You have to drag Zelenskyy and Putin to the table as if they're misbehaving children. This is the problem, John. I get what you're saying. But then what's my threat? How do I drag Putin and Zelenskyy? What's my threat? Is my threat, we're going to bomb you, Russia? Is that my threat? I hope not. Is my threat, we're going to bomb you, Zelenskyy? I hope not. What's our threat? Is our threat, I'm going to put American troops in Ukraine if Putin doesn't do the right thing? I hope not. Is it more sanctions, which didn't work and still aren't going to work? I hope not. I don't know what's the threat. How do you do that? I'm not saying you're wrong in us doing it, but I don't know what's the threat. And if we're going to threaten Ukraine, what if the Europeans go, we don't care. We're going to give money anyway, which is where they're going. The Germans are trying to do it without us. I mean, they can't, but they'll just lengthen the war. If the Germans actually throw everything, if they do, I'm not saying they will, if the EU actually says we will throw everything into Ukraine, they will keep Ukraine in this war for years. If they actually do it. Because at that point, if they go that far, you will find European soldiers will be in Ukraine. I mean, there's some already in Ukraine, but you will find actual units that just will start showing up in Ukraine. That will happen. Mercenary units, private military contractors, in bulk. And when that begins to happen, things will change. So, and that I think is Zelensky's entire plan. So I'm not saying you're wrong again. A lot of you guys, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, how do you do that? How do you do it? How do you stop the Israelis? How do you make a peace in Gaza? What's your threat? Your threat to Israel? I'm not going to give you any money. Our APAC Congress going to keep giving them money, no matter what. Doesn't matter what they do. Does not matter what they do. Irrelevant. Does not matter. The only way Israel gets stopped from doing what it wants in that entire arena, only one way: if the Turks step in. That's it. There is no other way that they get stopped in any way, shape, or form. And as long as Erdogan's satisfied, he's not going to step in. Erdogan does not want to fight that war. Turkey does not want to fight that war. Would they? If it was in Syria, they might. If there was a push into Syria, if they cared about the Kurds, that is the only way the Turks would want to fight. Otherwise, they would not fight. The Turks do not want to fight Israel. That's not a thing. They don't want to do it. Would they if Israel goes too far into Syria? Possible. That would be the only time. And Turkey is the only country that can do anything to Israel. No other country can. So what's our... To quote Trump, we don't have the cards. Where's the cards? They don't care. And Trump's own people are like, we don't want to stop this fight. If all of American government, and let me push back for a second, if I can. Take a step back here. John, if all of the American government was like, we don't want to fight either of these wars, if all the American people were like, we don't want to fight these wars, if the American people were like, get out or we're going to vote you out, if that were happening, that's not happening. But if that were happening, then we're good. At that point, Trump has all the cards because the people will be behind him. The deep state will be behind him. That's not true. And with this recent attack in Colorado, more people are going to be like, nope, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. These attacks, I wonder sometimes, this is my conspiracy brain. Is this like done on purpose? Because it's not done on purpose. I've done to say. Okay, I should be clear on that. Of course it was done on purpose. Sorry, I should be much clearer on that. Is this some kind of op? There we go. That's maybe a better way of saying it. Is this some kind of op to where they're trying to get us to keep fighting? Because these types of attacks, that guy with the Molotov cocktails, oh my God, that's a horrible thing. That's just going to make more people say, keep fighting. It's silly. If this guy, this is my point, right? If this guy actually, here's the question. Is this guy just nutty? Maybe he's just nuts. Possible. Is he that much of a fanatic that he honestly believes, like the Timothy McVeigh, right? I'll do the thing and this will start the war, right? If I do this will start the war. Does he honestly believe that? Or has he been used by somebody? Is he a patsy? I could see any of those. Peace Logic, thank you for the rant, my friend. Dollar says, will this surprise attack give Trump more leverage to end the war? No, the opposite. No. The Zelenskyy did it because he doesn't want to end the war. Again, this attack is special, not because Ukrainians shouldn't be defending themselves. Of course they should be, obviously. Because this is an attack that requires American help and breaks one of our treaties, our nuclear proliferation treaty. That's why it matters. That's what makes this special attack special. That's what makes it special. And it does it. I mean, so now the Russians are going to say, wow, we'll just put all our planes away. So that breaks our treaty. So now we're hiding our nuclear aircrafts. I don't think we want that, do we? Well, we got that now. We got that now. Unless America is going to do a guarantee. Now, if I'm Putin, right? I'm telling you what I was doing if I was Zelenskyy, if I was Netanyahu. If I'm Putin, the first thing I say is, all right, America, that just happened. I expect you to guarantee the safety of those planes. I expect you to guarantee those planes. What are you going to do to Ukraine for breaking this treaty, for using your intelligence to break our treaty? Now, nothing's going to happen. But that type of rhetoric is the rhetoric where the rest of the world goes, damn, he's kind of right on that. That is a diplomatic win for Putin. Again, America's not going to guarantee that. America's not going to punish Ukraine. That's not going to happen, but it doesn't matter, right? It's about a PR war. That's a PR war victory for Putin. If I'm Putin's first thing I say, how are you going to punish Ukraine for breaking our treaty? Why did you agree to that? You made a treaty with us. How can I trust you, Trump, when you're breaking our treaty? I can't trust you. I'm the bad guy. Look at you breaking the treaty. That is what I would do if I'm Putin, try to win the PR war. Again, Trump's not going to all of a sudden go, you're right. I surrender. Of course not. But it's a PR victory. And that's what he should be doing. So we'll see. All right. Gene says, I would like Kim to be wrong, but I'm afraid she isn't wrong. I'm with you, Gene. I'm with you. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Phil says, the U.S. has a lot of ability to give Russia non-Ukraine concessions to help the war end, like how we ended the Cuban Missile Crisis. I agree with you. I think the U.S. does have the ability to give a lot, but do they really want to? And then does the neocons want to? And then do we really does the establishment really want to end this war? I don't know. Jesus says, but how would the U.S. not know if they were planning this over a year? That's the question, Jesus. Is it that they knew, or is it that they knew behind the scenes? Like, for example, the FBI knew. I'm sorry, FBI would be FBI in theory. The CIA knew. Some senators knew, but this was behind the scenes, and they never let it get up to the president. Is that possible? Maybe. Remember, 18 months ago, Trump wasn't president. Biden was president back then, right? So Biden might have given them the go-ahead with this, in theory, right? Assuming Biden was awake and able to do so, assuming that's the case, well, if Biden wasn't really doing his thing at that point, anybody in deep state could have said yes to this 18 months ago. Remember, again, Trump wasn't president 18 months ago. So anyone in the Biden administration could have said, yeah, great idea. Go bomb them. Go do it. Give the okay to the CIA. Go do it. And there was the go-ahead. Trump would have never known. It's possible. If they actually planned it over a year, that's how it would have worked. Remember, Trump is not even in a year yet. So that absolutely could have happened. It is possible. That's all. So Billy John says, Harvard said that Trump is mad at them because they rejected Barron. That's actually funny. That's funny. Nice one. That's funny. Yeah. All righty. Phil says, U.S. financed the coup in 2014 and was threatening to put American forces on the Russian border within a few hours of Moscow. I did hear that. I don't know how true that is, but I have definitely I've heard both sides of that story. I haven't done enough homework on that to know which side I believe in. I'll be forward with you. I don't really know. And to be forward with you, I don't want us fighting the war. I don't care. It sounds mean, but I don't care. I don't want us fighting this war. It's not our war. Trump says it's not his war. I say it's not even Biden's war. It's nobody's war. Get us out. Get us out. So Adam says, sorry, I disagree with Mike, which is a first. Israel doesn't need U.S. backing either. I agree. Granted, it's stronger with it, but Israelis have stood on their own for generations and still can. Also, it's not just Harvard, it's All-American University as of Thursday. Oh, is that right? Is it All-American University? I did not recognize that. Oh, I got to go back and look at that now. You got me thinking, Adam. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, my worry, Adam, is hubris. Hubris is never good. Hubris is never good. That is my worry. It's the same reason why I said I was worried that the Democrats collapse so badly in America that the Republicans, they can run everything, then they get hubris. They go too far, right? Whenever someone has the ability to go too far, they often do. They often do. So I would like that to not happen. There we go. Let's see here. All righty. John says, sorry, Jazz, all corporate outlets support Ukraine. True. Despite the country being filled with a bunch of H-man loving NASA and socialists of Germany. Cute. That's cute. I like that. Nicely done. But it's true. Yes, the mainstream media is absolutely pro-Ukraine. It's not even close. And it's not even close. You can find some YouTubers, some like that, who are like totally anti-Ukraine, Russia great. You can find some of those. But it's minor. It's absolutely minor. Yes. Ryan says, these wars reinforce the fact that we need to have sophisticated manufacturing capabilities at home. I'm not going to fight you there. China's drone capabilities make Ukraine's attack the equivalent of a toddler's first steps. Ryan, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I'm with you. Yes, I think we do have to worry about that. I think we should be fixing this. You're right. Mike's with me. He has it. He's absolutely correct. Yes. Agreed. Yes. We have to. I think Mike and I disagree on this piece. I think Mike is much more about having 100% homegrown. I'm not. I'm more like 70%, 80%. I don't mind us having a lot of stuff that we can trade as long as we can quickly ramp up when required, right? So I'm happy with 70, 80%. I don't need 100. I like foreign trade. I like us being able to get stuff from overseas and back and forth. I enjoy that part. So I don't want 100%, but it needs to be the vast majority, 70, 80%. Right. But a little bit is fine. As long as we can quickly ramp up if we need to. That is my issue. As long as we can quickly do up. Billy John says Trump absolutely knew. Why do you think that, Billy? Billy, you got a lot of stuff to say today. I don't know why you're so sure on that one. I feel like it's not so obvious at all. Right? He's been saying how upset he is, how bothered he is, and he tends to just say what he feels. I mean, he doesn't really hide what he thinks. He just says it. Comes right out. So I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't know how you can be so sure. I don't see how you can be so sure. So yeah. All righty. Let me keep going down here if I can. There's so many of these back and forth. I appreciate all these guys. All right. Shelley says, if Ukraine was able to defeat Russia, it's likely they wouldn't have the manpower to mine the resources. They are dying too often. Yeah. Ukraine does not have the manpower or ability to defeat Russia. It doesn't. Is there a chance that they can push Russia to a point where Russia quits or sues for peace or retreats? Yes. But the idea that there's going to be some Ukrainian units that march on Moscow, right? That's not going to happen. Can Ukraine hold out long enough for Russia to quit? That's possible, Shelley. Maybe. But there's no way that, there's going to be whatever, Ukrainians marching on Moscow. That's not a thing. That's never going to happen. Never, ever going to happen. Now, would it change if all of a sudden there were European forces, Germans, British, French in Ukraine? Maybe. Because it's a whole lot more bodies, a whole lot more money. Maybe. The problem is, look, for those of you who haven't been watching this, I've been watching this battle, this war decently close, not crazy, but decently close. It's a bloodbath. It is a different type of warfare that European armies who aren't Russian and Ukrainian don't know how to fight. Americans don't know how to fight this battle either. We're learning now. We're writing our manuals, like probably as we speak, they're rewriting manuals. This is not an easy thing to fight at all. This is very challenging. And if the Europeans actually go in there, they're going to start taking heavy casualties. Now, we don't know how much the actual number of casualties that each side's taken, but it's hundreds of thousands of dead and wounded, hundreds of thousands of dead and wounded on both sides, right? That's for sure. That we're sure of, hundreds of thousands. Are Europeans going to, are Germans going to take 100,000 casualties? French, 100,000 casualties? Brits? Could the Brits even field 100,000 troops? Could the Brits even field 100,000 troops? I don't think they could even field 100,000 troops. That's how broken the British military is. I can't imagine the British Army creating a BEF. Those you know what the BEF is, the British Expeditionary Force. I can't imagine them even fielding 100,000 troops in under a year. Maybe in a year. Maybe. I can't imagine them doing it. French, maybe. The French have been fighting in Africa. They could probably field 100,000 people. Germans, I can't imagine them doing it. The Poles could. The Poles and the French could field 100,000 troops. The Germans. Do we really want Germans fielding troops again? That didn't go so well last time. I don't know if we want to do that again. So, Dave, you win the chat. Russians aren't evil. Putin is evil. Get that completely. Yes. Get that completely. So, all righty. Let's see here. Mike says, I can see that. It does feel strange, the reversals. It does. Yeah. Yes. MW Knox says, EpiPen may very well have been unalivable, but he was deliberately allowed. Yes. And there's the piece, right? This is the piece they don't say. Thank you for picking this up. People, what you heard them say is, well, I know a self-ending when I see one. Yeah. And so did his guards as they were watching him do it. So, yes, to your point. So do his guards as they were sitting here going, go ahead. Do it now. Go ahead. No. Step on that. No. Right there. Okay. Tie the knot that way. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He might not only have been allowed, he might have been encouraged. So they may not be lying when they say it was a self-ending. But I think your point's valid. I'm glad you picked that up. I think that's absolutely right. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can go here. Jay says, hey, Larry, this attack by Ukraine was planned now for over a year and a half. Dozens of drones delivered over months. What is more likely? That we didn't know or that we did? I'm not saying I know. I'm just asking what the information is more likely. I think it is more likely that the previous administration knew, and then the CIA hid it from the current administration. I don't doubt that being true. And of course, some senators knew and didn't say anything either. Right? Remember, neocons don't want Trump to succeed in this. You think Lindsey Graham supports Trump doing this? You think Marco Rubio wants Trump to have peace here? No, not at all. Not at all. They don't want him. They don't want him to have to. They want Trump to succeed in other ways, right? Don't get me wrong. All Republicans who are in power, they do want Trump to succeed, just not in this specific situation. They don't. They want him to fail here. Fail in a peace part. Neocons love this stuff. They're happy to have war. Remember, empires need war. Empires survive on war, thrive on war. Empires are always on war, always. Roman Empire, always at war. British Empire, always at war, right? When you're an empire, you're always at war. That's how it works. Your empire thrives on war. We're an empire. And neocons like us being an empire. Thrive on war. Yes. So, all right. IC is not happy with Bongino. She says Bongino's a sellout. I hope that's not true. Again, yeah. Dave says Larry has traded deep state grifters for Trump-looking grifters. Grifter's going to grift. Bongino might not be deep state, but he's a grifter all the same. You know, the funny part is I don't want all these things to be true, but I can't say you're wrong. Like, I want you to be wrong, Dave, but it doesn't mean you're wrong. Like, my desire for you to be wrong doesn't make you wrong, right? It just makes me want you to be wrong. But yeah, I still have this optimistic streak in me. It's still here. It's why I run for office, why I keep doing this. I have this optimistic streak that if enough people can get through the breach, right? If enough people get inside, we could have an actual bridgehead to where others can get in and we can start an actual offensive. I keep hoping that. I really do. So Mike says, at Larry, we have exited the time of sweeping change. The establishment regained enough footing to slow down and start rejecting Trump's actions. I think you're right. I think you're correct on the money. You're on the money. Yes. Unless the R's win midterms, they won't. Trump stalls in 2027. I'm not sure that's true. All right. I get where you're going with that. There's a shot that the R's can win the midterms. There's a shot. It depends on how much Trump, how good is Trump's polling next year? That's the issue. How good is his polling next year? If his polling's still as good as it is now, the Republican will be fine. If not, no. Right? Because if Trump's polling is good, what he'll do is he'll literally do what he does. He'll go across the country. He'll go do his podcast. He'll go do his rallies. And he's great at rallies. People love when he rallies the people. And he'll scream and yell and say, I need these people so I can get my America First done. Give me these people. And Democrats have not figured out at all how to talk to anybody except other Democrats. They still haven't. Now, if Democrats all of a sudden find their Bill Clinton 3.0 who knows how to talk to men, if that happens, I don't see that happening right now at all. But if that happens, then I think you're 100% correct. Otherwise, I think it's up in the air. I know you're sure. Look, you're making a goal. You were right last time on the election, so I'm not going to say you're wrong. But I'm just saying I feel like you're too sure. There's still a chance that Republicans can do well in 2026, still a chance. And I'm hoping, because I am optimistic, I'm hoping Trump actually ends these wars. If he actually ends these wars, he's got a shot. If he doesn't, I think you're right. Yes, I think you're right. So, yeah. All righty. John says that was Trump's problem in term one. Too many war hawks. And honestly, he should have vetted them before they're hired. True. However, he didn't know any better. That makes any sense. Like, he walked in unsure, and the people around him said, oh, just hire this guy, hire that guy. And he was like, oh, he's a business guy. These guys are here. They know stuff. Trust the people who are working there. That makes it. As a business guy, I might have thought the same thing. Luckily, now I know how bad politics is, and I would never do that. But he's a business guy. He thought that. This time he didn't. I think you're right. He did much better the second round than the first time. I agree with you. Duke says, I got to stop watching Larry and spending too much money. I know. I'm expensive. Speaking of that, peace, thank you for that. How are the Russian citizens feeling about the war? As a general rule, the Russian citizens think the war is justified. That's not 100% rule. But from what we can tell from people we've talked to, people who have talked to Russians there, polling that we know that we can try to get at, not all polling is obviously fair because it's Russia, but it seems like most Russians think it's justified. Like they're not like pro-war, but they think it's justified. They think it's protecting, denazifying. Most of them believe the Putin talking points. Most Russians do. Not all, obviously, but most do. And do most want to join up? Relative to Ukrainians, yes, but not all. Russia is spending a lot of money in recruiting bonuses, right? It's heavily on cash. If I remember right, it's something like the average Russian makes like $15,000 equivalent a year, something like that's the average Russian, and they're paying like almost double that, like almost $30,000 a year, something like that. So the pay is very high relative to the average Russian, and they also give them sign-on bonuses. The advantage Russians have over Ukrainians, which is why we can talk to these people, is Ukrainians are not good at rotating troops out. They're not good at it because a lot of times when they rotate troops out, they don't come back. So you rotate your unit out. You take your unit off the front line. Say you start with 300 people in your unit. You go into combat. You lose 100 to both killed and wounded. You got 200 left. You then take that unit and bring it back off the line to give them rest and relaxation. 50 to 100 don't come back. That's what Ukrainians dealing with, right? They just desert. They don't come back. Russians are having a much better time. If the Russians send 300 troops into it, they lose 100 to being killed and wounded. They bring 200 back. Almost all come back. But they also rotate often. The Russians will be rotating units out often. They have a tactic where they have a lot of their heavy hitter units will go in and fight hard to take land. Then they bring in other units to hold the land, but those other units go back and rest, and then reboot. So the Russians have a better system when it comes to that. So because of that, when the people go home, they're not so angry about the war compared to others. So again, it's relative, but at the moment, Putin is in no trouble of being removed or couped. None of that right now. He's fine at the moment. We'll see how long that lasts. So yes. Mike says, I agree at Larry that Israel can't expand to new lands. Correct. And that's my worry. My worry is they'll feel like I can do whatever I want, and they'll just keep going. That is my concern. But that's also part of why they won't lose the land they hold, which is what makes them so popular. I agree. Israel's not losing any land. I think you're totally correct. I think we're both on the same page here, Mike. My worry is the same. When people think they can do whatever they want, they sometimes do. And if they don't all of a sudden decide we're going to take over Syria, as long as they don't do that, I think you're right. I think Israel will be fine. But if you get some war hawks over there going, why not? Who's going to stop us? That's when the Turks step in. And that's not going to go well. That's not going to go well if that happens at all. So yes. Kim's like, I want me to be wrong too, Larry. I think most of us do, Kim. I think most of us do. Yes. I think most of us do. Yeah. All righty. Let me grab here. Chrissy says, Pope Leo offered to hold peace talks with Ukraine and Russia at the Vatican. That's a good thing for him to say. I think he should. I think it's a good thing to say. But again, I don't think either one of them wants peace right now. If I'm Putin, why do I want peace right now? If I'm Zelenskyy, I don't want peace right now. Why would I? The only person who wants peace right now is Trump. They don't want peace right now. There's no need for it. Absolutely. They don't want it at all. Duke says, Russia invading Ukraine isn't as simple as Putin being crazy. I agree with you, Duke, and I hear that all the time. He's a madman. He's Hitler, whatever. No. Anytime someone says the guy's Hitler, he's not. There's only one guy who was Hitler. Hitler. That's it. You're correct. It's not that easy. Yes. Documentation proves Russia warned NATO not to expand eastward since the 90s. Putin sees Ukraine as NATO as an existent threat. Yeah, the reality of it is all large nations or nations who believe they're great powers, all of them want buffer states. They all do. They all want buffer states. right? Russia has one, Belarus, and they want another one, Ukraine. That's true. They want buffer states. They don't want the enemy on the line. North Korea exists because China wants a buffer state between itself and our forces in South Korea. Absolutely true. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All righty. John says Russia is advancing and haven't even mobilized 100% of their military forces. Ukrainians are dragging people off the streets and conscripting them by force. True, it's a problem. It is a problem. I agree, it's a problem. The problem that Russia hasn't actually officially declared war. And they haven't. And the reason is if they declare war, then Russian military doctrine says then they're open to using the special bombs. Yes, those. So that it's why it's called, if you notice, they call it the special military operation. They call it that because they don't want it to be a war, because then it opens things up that they'll have to mobilize all those things. John, you're correct. Yes. Tree Monster Data says Trump is full of S. He has lost all the respect that he had. Putin spit in his face and he wants to take his anger on Bibi. Bibi is not going to take any crap from a gutless coward like Trump. I think you've gone a little too far. One reason I'm doing this show is I am concerned that Trump has lost control. I am worried about that. I am. But it sounds like you're just mad at Trump. You don't like Trump. I don't know what you mean by full of shit. I don't think Trump's lying. I don't think he is. Maybe I've missed something. Isn't he telling the truth? Doesn't he want his peace and he wants his Nobel Peace Prize? Isn't that true? That's not full of shit. That's telling the truth. He's pissed off at Putin because Putin doesn't want peace. I think that's true. He's pissed about Zelenskyy because Zelensky's bombing things he didn't know about. He doesn't want peace either. I don't think that's full of shit at all. I think you're just mad at him. I don't think that first part's true. Lost all respect yet? Not all respect. Now you're exaggerating. Now you're just being mad at Trump. Has he lost respect in the eyes of some people? Yes, I think it's true. You're right. Some have. I'm worried now already. I'm saying, wait a minute, is he making it? If I'm thinking that, others are too. I think you're right. Putin spit in his face and he wants to take anger on Bibi. I'm not buying that one. No, that's not true. No. Putin is blowing him off. That's accurate. But he's not taking out on Bibi. He's saying nothing. Trump is being quiet with Bibi. He's not saying a word. And all he says is, Netanyahu's in a tough spot. But he's mad at Bibi because he wants this Gaza to end. If you remember, the first thing Trump said when he came in, when he told Bibi, he said, end this quick. Remember that? It's the first thing Trump said. He wasn't full of shit. He meant it. He was like, this is going to go poorly if you keep bombing these people. This is going to go poorly. Trump was right. This is going poorly. Not militarily. Militarily, obviously, Israel's winning. It's not even close. Obviously, Israel's winning militarily. It's the PR war I talked about. Israel's still losing the PR war. They lost the PR war day 1 and 8. I'm sorry, day 2, not day 1. Day 1, they were winning. October 7th, they were winning the PR war 100%. After they've been losing the PR war ever since, and still lost the PR war. So when it comes to public relations, Israel's losing. Public relations, they're losing. And Trump told them that. He said, you got to do this fast. And they're not. I don't see that as bullshit at all. I think you're wrong on that one. So anyway, if I can say this right. Dravko, the biggest USA proxy war is list. I'm not sure what you mean by that one. But there are proxy wars. That's true. Yes. All righty. Mike says, Russo-Japanese War, 1904-1905. Good memory, Larry. Yes. Japan started and won that. True. But it's an interesting story in this one, Mike. You may like the interesting story. When the Japanese were fighting that war, it was actually trench warfare, and machine guns were actually used. So you would have thought that Europeans would have paid attention on how bloody the land battles were. The land battles were bloody, horribly bloody. Trench warfare with machine guns, World War I charging back and forth. But the Europeans were so jingoistic, so chauvinistic. They were like, well, that's because those backward Asiatics. That's not what European armies would do. And the same thing happened. So the war that was happening then, they should have noticed. And they had sent observers to watch it. These crazy Asiatics. That's not what us super cool Europeans would do. And the first opening salvo of 1914, when the French came out into the field, some of their units, I'm not joking, were wearing red pants of traditional, like Napoleonic times. True story. Look it up. World War I, the French came out, some units came out with red pants because that'll do well in the field. Yeah, it is. Yeah, terrible. So yeah, Japan did win that. But here's the other interesting piece. It was so bloody that the Russians didn't think they could win on the ground. So what did they do? They sent their entire navy from the Baltic Sea all the way around the Horn of Africa, all the way up into Japan, all the way around the world to Japan. The Japanese met them. Japanese Navy met them at the island of Tsu. Shima is island in Japanese. At Tsushima, it's called the Battle of Tsushima, the Battle of Tsu Island, and sank the Navy. The Russians didn't have a navy in the West because the Japanese had taken their colonies there, so they could do that. And at that point, Russia sued for peace. The peace treaty was not good enough for the Japanese people who had lost so many people in that war, lost so many of their sons in that war. So when the Secretary of State, the Minister of Foreign Minister, when Japanese Foreign Minister came back to Japan, they killed him. True story. They killed him. They're like, that was a crappy treaty. And the people killed him. So, yeah, they ended the war, but not the way they wanted to. So that was the problem. So thank you for that. All righty. Peace. Thank you for $10. I want everyone to stay positive. This war is frustrating. I've been delving deeply into AI. It is now my opinion that we can fix this mess with AI, but the ride will be temporarily ugly. Stay strong. I like that. If you remember, there was actually a South Park episode about this piece where Stan gets himself in some terrible trouble with his girlfriend, right? Terrible trouble. And he gets out of it where everyone's happy and whatever. And his friend goes, how'd you get out of it? He goes, ChatGPT. He put in the problem, ChatGPT gave him the answer. So maybe, Peace, let's put it in ChatGPT. Let's fix this. What are you waiting on? Hustle up, Peace. Get it done. I love it. That's great. All right, let me see if I can go down here more if I can. All righty. IC says, I agree with your theory, intentional ops. Maybe. You know, that's my point. It feels like it could be that. It feels, I don't have info on this. It feels like it could be. Jean says, 1905 was when my grandmother was born in Germany. Her father brought her to America shortly thereafter. Oh, that's nice. I appreciate that. That's nice. All righty. John says, truthfully, we walk away from the table and stop funding any sides of these wars, leave Ukraine to fend for themselves and cut ties with Israel. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah. Ryan says, the better question might be, what isn't an op? True. True. Yes, absolutely. Jazz says, the thing is, America is no longer the United States of America. It's the United States of the world. America pretty much created this global system. Can't withdraw now. World won't allow it. This is an important piece, Jazz. We've created the world order, and we are a major part of the world order. For us to fall back from it is a big issue. I agree. It's a big issue. And I had a guy on here. He really supports NATO. It's an Austrian. I forgot his name now. But I had a guy maybe like a year and a half ago. He was open. He was like, America needs to stay in NATO. America needs to stay in the UN. America needs to put more money into NATO. And I was like, oh, okay, why? He was very open. He said, to your point, he goes, because America started this. America has become the father. It has to keep in charge of the family. And I'm like, while I don't like that, agree with it, I understand his point. Like, I get where he's coming from. And if I was European, I might think the same way, right? He's Austrian. So if I was Austrian, I might think the same way. I might be like, you know what? Yeah, come on, America, be Big Daddy. I might be thinking that too. So I get the argument. I do. I get the argument. So, all right, guys, thank you for the super sticker, my friend. Thank you so much. You can super sticker me if you want to also. And as I say always, if you want to, you can always like the show. Click the button known as Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. Please click that button if you would. And of course, if you want to, you can please repost this or share this if you like. It does matter. Every bit counts. Also, please, if you would follow me on Facebook, follow me on X, follow me on Rumble. If you subscribe to me on Sharpe Way YouTube, then please select all notifications. It does matter. You want your chat to go right to the front? Super chat me on YouTube or rant me on Rumble. Either of those work. But no matter what, please become a member if you can. Membership is important. It keeps everything rocking and rolling. $49 per month. Larry, that's how much a coffee costs. I know. I give you a rush too, don't I? I give you an adrenaline rush. Hold on, is my camera on? There we go. I give you an adrenaline rush too. See, I give you the same rush that coffee does. So you get that too, and you get that like every day. I'm on like every day. So look at that. Coffee's like once a month. I'm every day. Come on now. It does matter. If you can, please do so. But no matter what, click the button known as like. It does matter. So yes. All righty. Phil says, I didn't understand how far a 155 millimeter cannon shoot. I'm pretty sure it can shoot 25 miles. This is conventional weapons, military, and can be devastating in Israel where they're not 25 miles wide. Generally speaking, and by the way, I know that because those are 155 mics. I worked on them physically. I did. 155 mics, some are self-propelled, some are not self-propelled. As a general rule, they're not gonna fire more than 20 miles. They can fire more, but the more you fire those pieces at that range, you actually begin to wreck the weapon system itself. The system becomes wrecked. It's just too much because there's a huge charge. The charges within them are so big when the explosive when it goes out, it winds up wrecking the system. So you actually fire about 20 miles. You can go further. You can about 20. In fact, when it comes to that special kind of round, the one that when it lands, there's a mushroom cloud, that one goes even further. But by the way, for the towed weapons, that is a one shot. Because the charge you have to put for that weapon system, when you put it in, you have to dig a hole. I'm not joking. You have to dig a hole because the recoil of the cannon is such a recoil. You have to dig a hole in the ground. And once it fires that one round, because you have to fire it so far away that you don't get affected by that cloud. That's the last time that piece gets fired. You fire that one time. That's it. You don't fire anymore. So anyway, interesting little piece of information. So yes. So, all righty. Phil goes on to say, Germany and France invade Russia went to 2025. Well, we went to 2026 actually, right? Wouldn't it? I don't see. I don't see that at all. I can't imagine an invasion of Russian territory by a European country. I can't see it. Even if, and I'm saying even if the Germans and the French and the British actually put troops in the Ukraine, even if, and I'm not even saying that's going to happen, but even if it did, I can only see them retaking Ukrainian land. I cannot see an invasion in my head. I can't see an invasion of Russia. I would see them only just doing a retaking of Ukrainian land. Maybe like Crimea, maybe if you count that as Russia. If you count Crimea as Russia, maybe I could see that. And that's probably pushing it, but I could see it at least. Craig says, President Zelenskyy shut down meeting in Ukraine. The U.S. media will condemn President Putin for allegedly the same thing, but not President Zelenskyy. No, you're right. The media is generally speaking much more positive in Ukraine than anything else. I agree completely. Yes, much more positive. Yes. Minor Threat says Ukrainian military will collapse well before then and will not allow a NATO-friendly government after that. There's the other issue. If Ukraine actually collapses, and right now they are in the process of, right? Ukraine is losing this war. You're right, man. They're in the process of. So the Europeans are going to have to throw everything they can into Ukraine in these next couple of months, or the Ukrainians can lose this war. This is one reason why I think the Ukrainians did this attack they did, right? Because they have to be able to lose. They have to be able to win this war. And if the Europeans don't throw everything into this, or even Trump throws everything into this, right? If Trump just goes with the old, I'll just sanction Russia thing, Ukraine's finished. And that's what he's talking about. If he does that, Ukraine's finished. He has to actually say, no, I'm going to write a bunch of checks, or I'm going to give a bunch of tanks or whatever. I'm going to give a bunch. I'm guaranteeing everything. Go. And if he doesn't, Europeans have to. If they don't, Ukraine is going to collapse eventually. It can't hold out. You can't and here's the other part we don't realize. You might go, but Larry, they're prepping or they're going to have men, whatever. Morale matters. Morale matters. You can't win a war with defeat after defeat after defeat after defeat, right? You just can't. Your army won't fight anymore. It will simply deteriorate. You have to have victories to keep your army going. So, yeah, I think you're right, man. Threat. Phil says, thank you for $2. It was a winter war joke. Those countries both tried. True, yes, but no, they didn't invade during, well, hold on. Napoleon did invade during winter. Germany didn't invade during winter. Germany invaded in July, right? Operation Barbarossa. July 40. No, June. June 22nd, Operation Barbarossa, June 20, 1941. Hold on. June, I think, Operation Barbarossa, I think is June 22nd, 41. Operation Barbarossa. June 22nd, I was correct. June 22nd, 1941. So no, they invaded June 1941. I don't know why I know that date. I don't know why, but I just know stuff, dates. I told you I have that synesthesia thing in my head where I see time as stairs in my head. That's why I'm pretty good with dates like that. That's how I remember dates so well. So yeah, so Barbarossa was June 22nd, 1941. So it wasn't. But Napoleon, if I'm pretty sure, did invade in the winter, didn't they? Napoleon invaded, pretty sure. And Napoleon invaded in 1812, right? Napoleon invasion of Russia. I'm pretty sure I think 1912, right? No, he invaded in June too. It was 1812, but he was also in June 24th. So both went in the summer. Both went in the summer, Phil. They didn't go in the winter. They went in the summer. So just to make sure that was clear. So there we go. Peace. Thank you for the $2, my friend. Over on over on Rumble. My idea simplified is this: make it impossible to lie. Ooh, I like that. This takes all the ugly incentives away. I'm working on this with yes, my programmer. Then we create new incentives aligned with humanity. It's not bad. I like not being lied. I don't mind that. You don't see me lie. If I say something that's wrong, it's because I'm wrong. It's not because I'm lying, right? If I say something that's wrong, it's because I'm just wrong. It's not because I'm lying. So I like that idea. That's pretty good. Let's do that. Yeah, I'm in with that one. That's a good one. Yes. So Gene says, Klingon Empire, always at war. True. Yes, absolutely. Robert says, okay, we're talking a lot about foreign policy, which I'm not mad about, but America has very lazy voting habits for years, which allowed this problem to fester. Also true. I think both of those are right. Yes, I think both are right. We haven't paid attention, and we got ourselves in this spot. A lot of us are desperate and angry. True. Yes. K. John says, I'd bet big on this. Epi isn't gone. It was a setup to get him out and likely to get a new identity along with a new face from one of those doctors in South America. Really? All right. Okay, K. John, let's walk down this road. If he does that, isn't he going to come out somehow? Right? Doesn't he, like, I don't know, show up in a year from now in some island off the coast of Argentina or something, right? I mean, that guy can't go away. I mean, he went away and came back. That guy can't go away. And then why do you trust him, KJ? If it's you, all right, you're the one in charge, and you're in charge of EpiPen, and he's got to go get his new face. He's not going to have an accident on the way to the doctor's office. Some South American doctor, if I'm in charge, give him a little extra money and say, when you put him under, have an accident, he ain't coming back. I'm just saying. I don't know, K. John. Why you do all that for him? Just let him go. Let him go. That's what I think. That's all. Maybe I'm wrong. I just see that. That's where my head is. That's where my head is. So, yes. All right. Phil says, I have no doubt EpiPen, like a good spy, might have committed seppuku. Maybe. Yes. Minor Threat says, many in Russia think Putin should go harder. True. I think there are some who want to push all the way and end this. I think that's true also. I agree. I agree. Yes. Robert says, if the third parties cannot be a serious counter-programming with all this upheaval, they deserve to not be taken seriously. I disagree, Robert, completely. As I talked about this earlier today, the system has to be changed. I know I fought the system. The system is made to stop everything. It is a systemic issue. Change the system, then you are correct. The system is literally made to stop them. Absolutely. Yes. Mike S. Bad News says, I've wondered for a few months on how you get people that are focused on killing each other to not kill each other. People have had all kinds of peace talks between urban gangs for decades, and yet, yeah, there has to be a reason to not do it. There has to be incentives to not do it. The incentive part that Peace is talking about is exactly right. You have to have an incentive to not do it. If it makes sense to do it, people keep doing it. That's the issue. Yeah, absolutely. All righty. See if I can grab some more of these if I can. Ganjan says, I don't know why Trump thinks Putin is a reliable person. Putin is a trained KGB agent that's trained in the art of deception and murder. I'm not sure he does think that. I don't know. To be forward, I don't know. But whether he's a KGB guy or not, and he is, obviously, but he's going to do what he believes is best in his best interests. So the one thing I like tremendously about Wyckoff, is that he thinks that way. Like, Wyckoff isn't saying, I think Putin is cool or whatever. He's not saying that. I think he's saying, how do I close this deal in a way that Putin says, this makes the most sense for me? I think that's how Wyckoff thinks. Not everyone else thinks that way. That's why I think if anyone can do this, I think it's him, if anyone can, right? Trump isn't negotiating. He has other people negotiating for him, which is the right move, right? I think Trump could get very upset with Putin and mess everything up. I think you're right. So you have someone else do it who can look at it and go, okay, Putin, I don't care if you're a good guy or a bad guy. How do I make this so that you can go home and have a win? Here's the reality. I said it before. I said this years ago. I'm on record saying this. I showed you guys last year when I went on Dylan Burns' show. I said this years, like 3 years ago. Here's what I know to be true. Putin's not going to end this war unless he can go home, meaning to Russia, saying that he won. That's it, right? To Mike's point, some of these guys some of the Russians want more, want to go harder, right? Some of them want to go even harder. So I think, Minor Threat said that. Some of them want to go harder. So he's got to go home with a win. So how do you make it to where you don't destroy Ukraine? You don't crush everything that is to be Ukraine, but Putin can still go home and say, see, look how I won. That's the challenge. Not that Putin's reliable or not. If Putin gets a win, he's happy, right? Because he got a win. That's the point. Did he get whatever he sees a win? The question is, can that be done and Ukraine not be destroyed? I don't know. But that should be the goal. The goal should be Ukraine not being destroyed, Putin getting a win, because that's how he'll stop. Not because that's what he cares about. And that I know people are going to tell me, Larry, you don't get it. Putin's a bad guy, blah, blah. And be very forward about this. For you guys who love Ukraine, I know it, and you're so mad about this. I get it. I'm a realist here. I'm not saying what's right and wrong. I'm saying what's true. This is what I heard. It's an illegal war. He invaded. Nobody cares. I don't mean to be cruel. There's no such thing as an illegal war. That's not a thing. It's not a thing, right? Was it illegal when we invaded Kuwait or Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever? No such thing. The question is, when we went to Vietnam, Korea, Grenada, and those illegal wars, who cares? It doesn't matter. The question is, are you going to throw America out? You're not? Shut up then. That's how it works. Are you going to throw Russia out? You're not? Shut up then. Are you going to throw China out? No? Shut up then. Are you going to throw India out when they invade Punjab? No? Shut up then. It doesn't matter. There isn't a court that matters. It's not a thing. It's whoever's powerful enough to enforce it. The reason why those Yugoslavian guys went to jail is because they were small countries and we enforced it. No one's going to enforce Russia. No one's going to enforce America. No one's going to enforce China. They're not gonna. So Russia gets to do what it wants. America does what it wants. I know that sounds cruel and is wrong. I agree with you. And still true. And still true. Is the world prepared to physically throw Russia out of Ukraine? No, then it doesn't matter. That's how it works. Was the world prepared to throw America out of Afghanistan? No, then it doesn't matter. Or when Russia invaded Afghanistan? No, it doesn't matter. If the world is not prepared to get together and throw the country out, it is irrelevant. In this world, might makes right. That's how it works. Again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's true. So, whether Putin's reliable or not, if he gets what he wants as a win, he'll end the war. If he doesn't, he won't, unless we're prepared to go and throw him out. I hope we're not. I hope we're not. I hope that this makes sense. I know some of you didn't like what I said. I apologize. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just being forward. Just being forward. Richard says, can control be lost when it was never had? Well, it depends. Are you looking at actual control or perception of control, right? If it's perception of control, yeah, you just believe you're in control again. You just gain that perception again. But if not, I guess no. But the question is, are you actually in control or do you believe you're in control? So yes. So anyway, alrighty. Grab some more of these if I can. So many of these going through. I do appreciate that. So, all right. Mastermind says, you mean you can use ChatGPT for more than just putting Zelenskyy in the scenes of Scarface? True. You need to broaden my horizons. You can do more than that. It's true. You can absolutely do more than that. Yes. Yep. Ganchin says, as my neighbor who's from Romania says, Putin always gets what he wants. Sometimes true. And I don't mean to be mean. I'm just saying it's true. I'm just saying it's true. It's how it works. And here's the problem that some people have when it comes to the Ukraine war. They scream and yell about how righteous it is and how the Ukrainians need to keep fighting. And I understand the feeling behind that. But if the Ukrainians cannot win, and if they want to quit, let me be very clear, if they want to quit, if they can't win and they want to quit, let them quit. Your righteousness doesn't bring their loved ones back to death, back to life, right? Your righteousness does not bring their loved ones back to life. It doesn't. You want a virtue signal, show also, man, put a Ukrainian flag in your bio. Good, man, do it. But please don't act like you're doing something. You're virtue signaling. Those men over there are dying and losing arms and legs and limbs. Now, again, if they want to keep fighting, they should. It's their country. Go on with your bad self. You do you. What you want to do with your country, go ahead. But it doesn't mean we have to be doing it. We'd be helping them get killed. Particularly when here's what I know already. And again, I am on record on videos of this more than once. When this war ends, Putin will get at least 4 out of 5 of the provinces he wants. At least, which is going to happen no matter what. No matter what. That's going to happen. So if you could have that happen 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or next year, why wouldn't you just have it happen 2 or 3 years ago? Less people dead, less destruction. There's another several 100,000 people dead and wounded and destroyed. For what? For the same outcome. This outcome was already told years ago. That is the final outcome. Whether that happens this year, next year, year after. Well, if we don't stop, he'll take the whole thing. If you give him what he wants now, he won't. And even if he does, to be forward, Putin doesn't want to own Western Ukraine. That's not a thing. He wants that to be a rump state. He wants that to be a buffer zone between NATO and him. So Western Ukraine is going to exist in some format. If he wins this war, it'll be a Belarus Junior, is what it'll be. And then he'll control the rest of it. That's what he wants. That's how it works. He's not going to invade Finland or the Baltic states or take over Poland. Anyone who thinks that, you're fooling yourself. It's just not true. And I hear all the time, he's going to conquer all you. No, he's not. He's not going to conquer. It took him how many years to conquer this part of Ukraine? Now all of a sudden he's going to conquer all of Russia. And the same person who tells me, this was Dylan Burns, he goes, yeah, Russians can't win this thing. They can't even take a town of over 700,000 people. Okay. And the next breath he goes, and he's going to conquer Europe. If he can't take a city of 700,000 people, then how's he going to conquer Europe? It's not a thing. It's not a thing. Anyway, we've yapped away. And it's the same stuff I always say. So I guess just probably, yeah. Mike says Germany invaded in the summer, but line got stretched and they were defeated by the winter. Yeah. They weren't defeated by the winter. It stalled by the winter. It stalled by the winter. Yeah. They had far too many. They had far too many prisoners and advanced really far. And the Russians wouldn't surrender. And they also went too far south instead of pushing on Moscow. Many errors, many problems. But yes, you're right. Absolutely. So, all righty. Mike goes on to say, same with Napoleon, supply lines were stretched and they were defeated by the winter. But not just that. The Russians did something else. The Russians did the slash and burn. So Napoleon actually conquered Moscow. The Germans never did. The Russians actually took Moscow. I mean, the French actually took Moscow, but they burned Moscow. So, and so there was nothing left. There was no way. The French literally had no food, no supplies, nothing. The British used scorched earth. They scorched everything. They destroyed everything. They left the French nothing. And those days, supply trains just did not exist, right? Nowhere near. The Germans at least had a supply train. They could keep bringing supplies to the front. So it didn't matter if the Russians did scorched earth. It didn't matter. The Germans could still keep bringing stuff in. The Germans had trains, air forces, trucks, petrol. They could bring stuff in. The French had none of that. In fact, when the French came back, they actually had no horses. Why? They ate them. That was one of the biggest problems that the French army had afterwards when he came back for Waterloo, a lack of cavalry. And it wasn't just the soldiers. I mean, you need trained cavalry soldiers, but you also need trained horses. Most people don't know this when it comes to cavalry horses back in those days. Horses are not naturally made for combat. In fact, they're relatively skittish, so they don't do well in combat at all. To train a horse to fight in combat is years of certain types of horses to train. Well, the French ate all theirs, literally ate them because there was no food. So they ate all the horse and ate horse meat. So there were no horses left. So by the time Napoleon has to fight again in 1814, is that right? 1814? He has to fight Waterloo. He has almost no cavalry and no cavalry units. He has no cavalry. So that's a big problem. Cavalry, by the way, was used in those times heavily for scouting. And since he couldn't scout well, he didn't see that Blucher, the Prussian, was in the woods prepared to make the strike. That finished him off at Waterloo. If he had more cavalry, he was in advance and could have actually defended against Blucher or retreated, either one of those two. So, yes, a little bit off, but I go down those roads sometimes. So, Mike says, Germany tried to push to Moscow before the winter and failed, then winter killed them. Winter starts way earlier. They're almost like 9 months of the year is cold, if not wintry. There's no saying the two best generals in Russian history are General January and General February. Two best generals in Russia, two best Russian generals. So, yes, interesting. A says, Trump hasn't a clue. Information is selectively given to him. You know, I am worried about that. And I don't mean this as an insult at all. I am worried that the people around Trump only give him certain information. That was true in his first cabinet. That was true. They were limiting what he got, not doing what he said. That was true. I hope he's learned his lessons on that one. I really hope he has. So Adam goes on, and yes, it just happened last week. University student ban. I'll send you the info. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was sent to a postdoc with the great libertarian economist Professor Michael Benecke at George Mason. Now it's all off the cards for the foreseeable future. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. That is terrible. Yeah. Anyway, but I send it to me. I'd like to see it. I don't remember that part. So I don't remember that part at all. And I'm sure you're right. I probably just missed it. So yes. All right. Phil says all offensive war is immoral. Illegal is different. True. Yes. True. Yes. Absolutely true. It's a whole different piece. I completely agree. So, all right. If I can grab anyone else who I haven't talked to here. I think I've grabbed almost everybody who's had something to say at least. I want to make sure I try to grab as many of the individual people here as I can. I think I've grabbed almost everybody. Great. Awesome. Guys, I did want to ask you one more thing if I can. Okay, there we go. The missing piece says, it seems clear to me that Trump simply lied about wanting peace in order to deceive people into voting for him. How can he want peace with Russia while supplying arms and intel for them to attack? How can he want peace with Russia while supplying arms and intel for them to attack? You mean to Ukraine? Just because you want peace doesn't mean you stop fighting. You should be talking to your enemies even while fighting. To Adam's earlier point, I'm not mad at Ukrainians for fighting the war. They're being attacked by the Russians. I mean, they should keep fighting. I'm not against that. I don't like the specific attack I talked about. I'm unhappy about. However, but you should still keep fighting a war. I think we should have talked to the Germans in World War II and try to get a peace earlier if we could, but not stop fighting them. Still fight the Germans, fight the Nazis, still fight them. But you can still talk to them and say, look, when you're ready to surrender, let us know. We'll stop the fighting, but we'll keep fighting until you surrender. So I think you could do it. So I don't think he lied. I think Trump is in over his head. I don't think he recognized how deep the military-industrial complex is. And then most people don't. But I think he didn't. I do think he wants peace. I could be wrong, but it's everything to me tells me that he does want peace. That's why he keeps trying. He can give up whenever he wants. He can give up whenever he wants. So, yeah. I really think, yeah, absolutely. So, anyway. K. John says, did anyone else think of Young Frankenstein when Larry mentioned Blucher? Also, while talking about horses. That's cute. Yes, that's cute. Yes. So anyway, I do love my military history. So whenever you guys bring it up, I do start chatting about it all the time. It's very true. Guys, I'm asking one more time, if you would please click the button known as like. I ask you all the time. Please do it. It does matter. If you have not reposted this, you hate the troops. Don't hate the troops. They're good to you. Repost this if you can. Reshare it, repost it, whatever the case may be. Do so. It does matter. I appreciate it tremendously. If you can become a member, please do so. $49 per month. Click that join button. Every little bit counts. Every time we do this, it gets better and better and better. And I want to be unbanned shadow type. If you know what I'm talking about, please help me out with that if you can. And you know that when this is over, the new algo rhythm likes if you comment after the live. Comment after the live if you would. Please comment if you would. I'm going to ask you if you would. Please tell me, what do you think about peace in Ukraine-Russian war? What do you think? Is it going to happen? Not going to happen? Trump going to do it? What do you think about the peace? Do you care? Do you not even care? Doesn't matter to you. What do you think about the peace in Ukraine and Russia? Because I am concerned that maybe he's lost control of it. Maybe he has. I hope not. We'll see. And remember, if you do watch this and it's after it's live, a couple of videos going to pop up right here. Please click on one of them and watch for at least 8 minutes. Algo loves that too. I'll be on tomorrow at 1 p.m. my radio show. And then again tomorrow night. I will see you all